want to take a moment to welcome everybody to the Watch This Shit podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. My name is Seneca The Movie Professor. With this podcast, we're going to give you the definitive decision on whether you should go view a new movie release or not. It's real easy. If we say watch this shit, stop what you're doing and enjoy some good cinema. If we say don't watch this shit, avoid it as you would feeding a mogwai after midnight. Or don't. Do what you want. It may be fun, or you may have a gremlins infestation on your hands. You don't want to listen to us? You put your life in your own hands. Today's movie is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Dracula Takes a Cruise. The week I saw this film, I had two other stinkers in the same week. On Tuesday, I saw Meg. On Wednesday, I saw Gran Turismo. Then Friday, I got hit with the worst of it when I went to see Vampires on the High Sea. Weeks like this are the weeks that really prove how much I love cinema. If I didn't love movies deep within my soul, I would have stopped watching them altogether after this. Thankfully, or whatever, I have the passion, so this did not break me. But believe me when I say they tried their best. We just had this on the last review. Another movie starts with those on-screen descriptions explaining what is happening. I won't be as closed-minded as to say this trope can't be used well. I'm saying it's not being used well by anyone currently. Just stop. If your movie opening isn't scripted well enough to speak for itself, that means you need to either write it again, add some elements to it, or trash the entire project and start again. Show, don't tell. That's one of the big rules that Hollywood claims to hold true, but always breaks. I do not like written exposition at the start of a film. A strong start is the best way to captivate an audience. Being lazy and taking the easy way out isn't going to. Get this. This fucking movie did the words on screen trope and the person reading from a journal trope at the same time. They doubled up on the things that I hate. Off to a very, very bad start. I'll stop ranting and move on. We're still at the start. The next thing the film shows us is a wrecked boat. So the boat wrecked and there were no survivors. We could just end the movie here, right? I'm I wish, right? Unfortunately, I wasn't so lucky. Now, the movie is going to have to work towards getting the ship from its initial takeoff port to being wrecked on the shores of London. Flashback to however long it was before this incident happened. This particular setup gag always reminds me of the Rick and Morty episode where they told a guy, you should start your story at the start of your story. Don't do this 3 weeks earlier crap in the cold opening. So, what do we do here? The 3 weeks earlier stunt. All right. The captain of a ship, as played by Liam Cunningham, has his team preparing for the delivery of goods across the water. They go about hiring extra crew hands when all of a sudden a group of weird Transylvanian-esque people bring them a box to take with them. Yes, these motherfuckers straight up mailed a Dracula. The entire time, I'm trying to rationalize, the events that would have led to this. Did the villagers capture the Dracula and are forcing him to leave the area? Did the Dracula enact this plan on his own? He is ready to venture out and try his luck in the world. If the villagers have been fed up or fed upon and living in fear of this creature all these years, why would they just not open the box during the day and let him burn to death rather than delivering him to be somebody else's problem? I went into a small spiral. I will admit, as soon as I saw this event. Luckily, I was able to pull out and start paying attention to what was happening on screen again. Through events he later comes to regret, Corey Hawkins' character is allowed to travel on the voyage. He is a black man that has become a doctor in the 18th century, which becomes a big point during the film. Hawkins did well in previous roles, most notably as Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. Here, the best thing he does is fuck up the system by becoming the final girl. I was so happy that the black man didn't die. Then I remembered The movie I was watching was so bad that it basically evened out to the same result. But I digress. Let's get back to explaining this wonderful plot. The plan is to take the cargo from wherever they are in London or wherever they are to London. In those days, travel by sea was long and perilous. By taking a vampire on a boat, they make it even more so. When the Dracula gets loose while they are on open water, the crew begin to turn on each other as weird happenings start. Crew turn up missing. I've had this question a long time. How do you turn up missing? If you're missing, then that would mean that you didn't ever turn up. The crew are being fed upon by the vampire who is treating them like in flight meals for his trip. By the time they figure out and accept what's going on, the Dracula has damn near evolved to full power and they don't stand a chance. Yes, the Dracula evolves every time he eats somebody, like as if it was a video game. Yes. The other cool thing, other than the fact that a black person survives, is that anybody could get it. When the dog died, even though they showed the death off screen, you didn't get the details. I was happy to see it, knowing full well if they let a dog perish, that means nobody is safe. That held true, as even the captain's young grandson got turned, died, resurrected as a vampire, and immediately was killed again by the son. The captain made a fatal mistake. He planned to give the boat to his first mate and retire after this final sail. As soon as he said that, I wrote in my journal, he did. No coming back from that. David Desmachlian, his weird ass, plays the first mate. He was in Oppenheimer last we saw him. While we were in the theater, I told young Sam, this guy looks creepy in every role. He has a natural villain demeanor. He is no less so here than I've ever seen him. There's always an air about him that is like that he's about to do some shady shit. He played a decent guy this time, so yeah, of course, he got run through by a damn Dracula. One of the worst places to be trapped with a monster is miles away from land. There's no escape, nowhere to truly run. That sense of claustrophobia would have been an interesting point to explore. Instead, this film drug on about social issues that have persisted throughout history. The difference being, they probably weren't expressed as loudly as they are in today's times. This movie proposes that shortcomings in society were commonplace during normal exchanges. I wasn't born back then, so I can't say with certainty people didn't openly speak about these things, but I can say I hope that's not the case, as if we have been talking about this shit for centuries with only small steps forward, humanity is even more doomed than my most pessimistic predictions. The plight of my people, the mistreatment of females, while all relevant, should have taken a back seat to a vampiric creature that was feeding on members of the crew. Also, this movie is not written nearly well enough to make points of any of those issues that haven't already been expressed better by everybody else. Instead, instead of, as I said, using the environment to create that sense of dread, they take the easy way out and go for jump scares. It gets repetitive and, while already predictable, not entertaining. The movie drifted along with things happening, and again, no real weight. We already know the outcome of the situation for the most part. It was spoiled in the very first frame of the film. There was one surprise that I'm going to ruin here. The ending suggests that the two survivors, the Dracula and Hawkins character, become locked in a lifelong feud after the events of the voyage. It even had the nerve to end as if a sequel will be made with the last surviving man chasing down the now in disguise vampire for his misdeeds. Universal Pictures, you're not listening. Everybody is telling you to stop. The Universe franchise you are trying to force to happen is never going to happen. For real. They set up a sequel, of Van Helsing type origin story, and no one is going to support it. I think they had one chance when they made the surprisingly good Invisible Man film in early 2020. It was a fleeting shot and they had already showed their hand with bad movies before, and that's why it didn't work. The plan should be take your time, make 5 good monster movies. Then on the 6th, surprise everyone showing they are connected. If you put out a good product, people will go along with your vision, but they won't do it the other way around. My final verdict: if you haven't guessed, don't watch this shit. This movie was a movie made so the studio could keep the license to Bram Stoker's work, and it didn't slip into public domain. Put it on TV when it goes to streaming if you want something that will help you fall asleep quickly. Thank you for listening to another episode of Watch This Shit. You come here for the realest take on new movies. So make sure you follow us so that you're not left in the dark on whether you should check out a new movie or not. If you haven't seen this shit, go on about your life. Don't even worry about it. Matter of fact, you're doing good. Damn, you're doing good. Check us out next time when we review Blue Beetle, and good day to you.